I'm going to show you how to make this amazing fresh mango chutney at home. It's super tasty, it's got a bit of a kick to it, and it's a really easy recipe. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and follow me on Instagram for lots more videos and lots more cooking tips. Hi, welcome to Harry Ghotra, welcome to the YouTube channel. I am going to cook for you today some mango chutney, and the reason that I'm doing that is because it's delicious, but also the supermarket had loads and loads of mango, so I thought what a great opportunity to make some mango chutney. Mango chutney isn't something that I would normally have in as part of my Indian meal, but I know it's such a part of Indian food when it comes to going to a restaurant. You always have it with your popadoms and that kind of thing, and also it is a really lovely thing to have. I'm going to spice mine up a little bit because I prefer it with a little bit of a kick rather than having it too sweet, but you can tweak and you can increase and decrease the amount of heat that you have in the one that you make. So it's super easy to make. The first thing you need to do is get your mangoes prepped. So the easiest way to do that is, so when you have a mango, you've got these two bits on the side, which are the cheeks. And what we need to do is just slice through those so that we can chop up some nice dices and chop them up so that we've got this sort of dice ready. So what I do is I slice off the two cheeks, so the stone lays in that middle bit. So if you pop it down on the side, you just slice off the cheeks, and that makes it really easy then to handle. When you're using mangoes or when you're chopping mangoes, do be really careful, because if they're ripe, they are really slippery and they can sort of slide out of your hand and you can cut yourself. So do be super careful. Once you've got the cheek, just pop it into your hand, and using a knife very carefully, what I tend to do is just slice down and then I'll slice across that way. And I do it so that I'm not pushing too far, because what you don't want to do is push straight through and cut your hand on the other side. So very carefully, just slice the flesh so you've got that lovely crisscross shape. And then what I tend to do is just push it out like that. And then I can just slice off the dices. So it's a really easy way of doing it. Now, if you've got a mango that is really ripe, even this can be a little bit tricky to do. So what you can do with that, and it's a real cheat, is that all you do is you just take a cup like this, and you just take the cheeks off, and then you put it inside the cup and you pull it down so that all of the flesh just comes away. It's a really easy way of doing it as well. So once you've done that, just make sure that you get all of that flesh out, because we want to use all of that. We don't want to waste any of it. If you get any big chunks coming off, we can just chop those up later. So some nice sort of dices, and this one is semi-ripe. So I'm just going to pop all of that into here. Get rid of those bits. Got a bit of skin left on that one. I'm going to slice that off. There we go. And I'm going to do the same with the other side. So just slice through the flesh again. Push it through. That's called a mango hedgehog. And then just slice those into dices off. There you go. with the bit that you've got left, the easiest thing I find to do is just with a peeler, just peel the flesh off. So just peel off the outside flesh. That. You might need a cloth to just keep your hands dry. And then what you do is you just slice down each side so that you get that bit. Just pop that to one side and do the same with the other side. Now you can start to see there, that's the stone in the middle. So all around it, you've still got quite a bit of flesh. So what I tend to do is just slice it down all the extra bits just around the stone. We don't want to waste any of it, so again, that way too. Now, if you live in a family where mangoes are a very special fruit, that bit is the best bit. And you can just sit there and chew away on that. It is just delicious, especially when you've got a lovely ripe mango. So keep those bits, the kids love them. And then with these bits, all we're going to do exactly the same, we're just going to slice them up so we've got a lovely dice of mango. Pop that into there. Now with this chutney, I am going to add some spices, and I'll go through all of those in a minute because I want to add a little bit of spice to this. And it just adds a real nice sort of warmth and heat to it. So just chop that up, last bit. Now I'm using, I had 4 mangoes here. So roughly I would say 4 or 5 mangoes. You're looking at about 300 grams per mango. And that will give you about 600 grams roughly of mango chutney. There we go. Okay, let's chop that last bit up. So to make the mango chutney, what I've got is my diced up mango. I'm using about 400 grams of diced mango. I've got some vegetable oil. I've got some chilli flakes because I like to have a little bit of chilli in there, but I'm also adding some fresh red chillies as well. I'm going to be adding some cumin seeds, a little bit of chilli powder, some salt, and some jaggery. So this is unrefined cane sugar. If you haven't got this, you can just add brown sugar. It's absolutely fine. I'm going to be adding 150 grams of the jaggery, but you can, if you prefer a sweeter chutney, you can add up to 250 grams of sugar. I'm also adding some cardamoms, some green cardamoms, and some cloves. I'm also going to be adding some black kalonji seeds, which are, they're like onion seeds, and they've got a lovely pepperiness to them. So they're great in chutneys like this, but also things like naan bread you'll find them in. I'm also adding some ginger powder, which gives a really lovely warmth to a chutney like this. And then we've got some fresh garlic going in. So I'm putting in 5 cloves of garlic and some ginger as well, which I'm going to peel and I'm going to grate and get that ready. Get that ready to pop in to the chutney. So basic process is that everything goes into a pan, it bubbles away. Oh, the one other thing that I forgot to mention is cider vinegar. I've got 250 mils of cider vinegar going in as well, so that gives that lovely tartness and also helps to break down the fruit as well. The basic principle, as I said, is everything goes into the pan and it bubbles away for around about 30 to 40 minutes until it's really nice and pulpy and it's all cooked down. And then once you're happy with the consistency, that then gets put into some sterilised jars. So I've had my jars in the oven at 180 degrees for about half an hour just to sterilise them. And then I'm going to pop the chutney into the jars, seal them, and then that can just sit in the fridge. They also make really good little gifts for people. Once you've done that, once you've sealed them, it should essentially be absolutely fine for a very, very long time. But as soon as you open them, you really need to sort of consume that chutney in about 4 weeks. So we're going to get on to the cooking. So I've got a lovely pan ready there. But before I start that, I'm just going to crush up my ginger and my garlic so that it's ready to go in and we don't have to stop. So you can do this in a pestle and mortar if you want to. I'm just using the back of my knife for the garlic just because it's here and it's easier and I can put all my weight on it. Okay, and I'm just going to very roughly dice that through. I want this to sort of dissipate in terms of its flavour throughout the chutney, so I don't want great big chunks of it, but it will cook down and it will soften in all of those ingredients. So don't be too worried that it has to be really small. It doesn't really, because it will all just cook down beautifully. Now in the recipe, which I will obviously add onto this, you can peel your ginger if you prefer. This is quite a rustic dish, so you don't necessarily have to. So you can just grate that so that it's ready to go in. And whilst I'm doing that, I am going to pop my pan on to start heating through. Almost there. I've got some big bits which I'm just going to run my knife over. Some nice chunky bits of ginger which we can chop up. Now when I use mango chutney, it's not always as a sideline to a curry. It's not always with popadoms, but although it does go very well with popadoms, mango chutney works really well as part of a cheese board as well. So just think about how you use it. You can use it in lots and lots of different ways. So there we go. Okay, just have a little wipe down. So I am going to just pop in roughly about 3 tablespoons of oil, and that's just a vegetable oil, nothing more exciting than that. And first things first, we're going to get our spices in just to get them nice and aromatic and get them sort of releasing those natural oils that sit within them. So with your cardamom, I'm just going to snap it and pop it in. Now if you are somebody who doesn't like biting down on cardamom, and there's lots of you, I know, my husband is one of them, what you can do is just take the seeds out, give the seeds a bash in your pestle and mortar and use that, just so that you get the aromatics and you get the flavour, but you don't get the actual pod that you might bite down on. So I'm going to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to use 8. Because I just like that flavour, especially in the chutney. I think it works really well. I'm going to add 3 cloves. They go in as well. Just get that a little bit aromatic in that oil. And as I always say, as soon as you can smell your spices, as soon as they've released those aromatics, you know that you're ready to go in with your next ingredient. Now with this, we are going to add our kalonji seeds. I'm going to put about a nice heaped teaspoon in there. But I'm going to turn my temperature down because I don't want these to burn. I want them to crackle a little bit, but I don't want them to burn. Yum. That looks good. And the other thing that the kalonji seeds do is they give this wonderful little speckled colouring to your chutney. It's just wonderful. So let's get ginger and garlic ready. So that goes in next. You can hear the sizzle. Now with the garlic, obviously we want it to cook a little bit. I don't want to get any colour to it, but I do want it to cook so that it doesn't have that raw flavour. Once the garlic has cooked down a bit, we don't want it to get any colour, but we just want that rawness to just vanish. Now is the time to add in that beautiful, beautiful, lovely mango. So the mango goes in. And at this point, if you haven't got your pan on a high heat, you can turn it up, because obviously you've just added something cold to the pan. So give that a little stir. And then into that, we are going to add a teaspoon of chili flakes, maybe a little bit more. I'm going to put some salt in. Just going to put a teaspoon and a half for now. I'm also going to add in my jaggery or my brown sugar. Pop a few of those in. My ginger powder goes in. And that was just a quarter of a teaspoon, not a lot in there. And I'm going to add my chilli powder in. And I'm going to put in my cumin seeds, so a teaspoon of those. Okay. So all of that's gone in, and I'm just going to give that a stir. And the colours are just beautiful, really, really vibrant, that amazing yellow from the mango, but also the red from the Kashmiri chili powder that we've put in there. It's all going to sort of add to that amazing look and feel of this chutney. So once we've mixed all of those spices in, I'm also going to pour in the cider vinegar as well. Give that a lovely mix through so everything starts to come together. What we want is for that sugar to start to dissolve in the vinegar and in the juices from the mango. So I'm going to keep this on a high heat, bring it up to the boil. Once it's boiling, I'm going to turn it down and then just let that simmer for roughly half an hour to 40 minutes. Whilst that is sort of coming to that temperature, I'm going to get my chilies ready. Now this is completely up to you how you want to do this. If you don't want to add fresh chilies into it because you think that there's enough warmth in there, then that's absolutely fine. So always cook to whatever suits your palate and suits your family as well. So I'm going to add 2 chilies in here, and I'm going to keep them as slices because I like it when you get a nice chunk of chili. So give this another mix. So I just want that sugar to start to dissolve, and that will happen very quickly. The mango chutney has now come to a boil, so all of the sugar has dissolved beautifully, and you can see that the syrup and so on starts to come through. Now, when it's boiling like this, just give it a final sort of stir through, And then what we want to do is just reduce the heat and just turn it to a little simmer so that it just sort of simmers away. All of the spices and all of the flavours that we've put in there start to come together and the mango starts to break down. So I'm going to put that on a fairly low heat, just so that you get a little bit of a bubble coming through. And that's just going to sit there for about 30 to 40 minutes until it's all gone lovely and syrupy. Now's the time to add your chilies in. So I'm just going to pop these in, and I want them to cook down a fair amount, but not as much as obviously the fruit. So my chilies go in, give that a lovely stir through. And we'll let that cook for another 10 to 15 minutes. It's almost there, but not quite. I still want a little bit of that moisture to be drawn out so it gets really nice and gooey and syrupy and delicious. The delicious mango chutney has been cooking for just over 40 minutes. I did put the lid on just in the last sort of 10 minutes or so once I'd put the chilies in there. But this is looking delicious now. I'm going to turn that off. So it's got beautiful and thick and syrupy. If you want to leave it for longer so that the mango pieces actually really mush down, you can do that. You could also add a little bit of hot water and just let that keep cooking down. So again, it's up to you in terms of how you want to have it, whether you want to have it like a shop bought one where it's completely turned to mush, or whether you still want it a little bit chunky. So I'm keeping mine with a little bit of chunk to it. That's looking good to me. I've had a taste as well because that's really important. Now is the time that you would adjust the seasoning, so you could add a little bit of salt in there. You could put a little bit more vinegar in there if you wanted a bit more of a tang, but it's actually, for me, it's looking good. The other thing that you can also do is add a little bit of turmeric in there. It just sort of boosts the colour. So you've got all of those options, and I'll add all of that information into the recipe so that you've got it all there to look at. My jars that have been in the oven are ready, and they've cooled down a little bit, so they're nice enough and cool enough to handle. So all I'm going to do is just fill this up with the lovely chutney. Oh, still a little bit hot. So as I said, you get roughly about 600 ml, depending on how far you take your mangoes down in terms of cooking them down. So mine is still got a little bit of a chunk to it. I quite like it because it means that whatever you're eating that with, whether it's a poppadom, you can really scoop up some lovely chunky pieces of mango. It smells beautiful as well. So I'm going to fill this up. Look at that. But look at the colour of it. It's wonderful. Really lovely. And you still see those little flecks of chilli in there. So I'm just going to pop on this seal. And there you go. So there's my mango chutney. I'm going to fill these other little pots up because I'm going to keep those in the fridge for whenever that urge takes you to have a little bit of cheese and a bit of mango chutney. Now there's a combination that is just amazing. Whoops. So you can see that you get quite a decent sort of amount of chutney from those mangoes. And I just think it's a really lovely way of using up fruit. You know exactly what you've put in there. And they keep for ages, so it's a really good little thing that you can do. You can also use a pressure cooker to do this if you wanted. It just makes that cooking time a little bit less. So pop those bits in there, give those a little shake. I'm going to pop the lids on these as well, and there you have it. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed watching the video. This is a really easy, simple but delicious mango chutney that you can make at home. It makes a great sort of side dish to your curry, a lovely thing to scoop up with your popadoms, but also is perfect for a cheese board as well. So give it a go, give me a thumbs up, and let me know what you think when you try it.